Hail, hail, the Celts are here. And what the hell do we care now, guys? We're away to Aberdeen. It's a midweek game, and it couldn't be any more important. But it's been that way for a long time. And we're here for a wee bit of a pre-game preview, as we've become accustomed to on the channel for the last couple of weeks, especially with the midweek fixtures. Fist bump to you all that are joining us live and loud. Good to see you. Now, we are about 15 minutes away from team news, so we've got a wee bit of room for speculation. I'm seeing a lot of you guys in the chat already dropping in predictions and preferences for the game tonight. So keep it coming. But we've had a little teaser from the Celtic Twitter account right before we come on. A little picture from inside the changing room, and I can't lie, seeing CeltsAreHere and Benjamin Arthur kind of quite high up the pecking order here of the pegs made me think, oh, we might be in for a bit of a surprise. I think KT is back here next to McGregor, and I think that's McKeown. Not too sure what this one is here. It's kind of hard to work out. Scales is here. It looks like, otherwise I'd have probably guessed Scales. But anyway, so we might have a wee surprise up our sleeve. Imagine this was the defence. Araujo, CeltsAreHere, Murray, Scales, Arthur. And so on and so forth. Maybe some sort of wacky double fullback thing. You know, some of you have wanted it. I doubt there's any Easter egg in here towards that, but it's fun to throw it out there for a minute, I think. This is a meaningful squad we've got coming into the game tonight. No Austin Trusty, of course, down to suspension. I've not included Benjamin Arthur in the reckoning, but I suppose after that picture, we might as well add him in. Martin O'Neill said in the pre-match press conference that there was some niggles in the squad. Didn't really get pressed on details for that. Kieran Tierney said about himself going into the Derby match, he was carrying a bit of something. Maybe it was referring to him. But someone said to me, and I've not managed to double check and verify this, but out of all the training stuff that went out pre-Aberdeen, no Dyson Maeda. Now, I don't think that's too unusual, actually, because I've had to, I'm in the business of predicting these things, who's going to play and whatnot. And Dyson has not been in training before and featured and started, in fact. So I don't think that's a silver bullet, but it's certainly something to note at this point. We also seen Ian Acho pictured in training yesterday after all his training in Manchester chat. He was in Lennoxtown yesterday. He could have been on the bus for the game today. So let's see how that shakes out. There's a bunch of you joining us live and loud, guys. This is where you leave your receipts on the internet. Smash the like button, get into the live chat, and I want score predictions. I want man of the match shouts. Do we see anything outside of the unusual? And I think by the unusual, I think what do we expect from the starting lineup, really? I think up front is really a coin toss for a lot of people. I think otherwise, and again, Dyson, I think we could see like Dyson on the right tonight, for example. So I don't know how I don't think Martin O'Neill will drop Dyson, although he probably shouldn't start this game. If he plays him through the middle, if Dyson Maeda plays through the middle tonight, I will be quite worried for the assessment of post Rangers, because I think it worked against Rangers because of the game state, where the game was, the opposition, and the pitch that was there to be created on the pitch. I don't think against Aberdeen you're going to get that same. And don't get me wrong, Dyson Maeda can still try that fox in the box role for if he is up front today, which I really kind of hope. I really hope he isn't. In terms of just trying to get on the end of crosses for tap-ins and such. But he's not really had the touch for that recently. And Aberdeen will crowd the box out quite significantly, and Dyson, is quite often drowned out in those situations. So I think that's probably the most likely. And again, I think the consensus amongst fans I'm hearing from, and I even see it for one or two of these in the chat, that Big Tam is probably the man to lead the line tonight. You need maybe a bit more attitude, you need a bit more swagger, a bit more, self-confidence, self-belief, whatever. But a wee bit of that bite, a little bit of that tenacity as a leading man up front in a game like this. And I can go along with that. So will we see anything out of the ordinary? We know Sinisalo's the goalkeeper tonight as well. Sorry if I skipped by that for a lot of yous. And again, we've been saying it since we signed Benjamin Arthur, but what the hell was he told when he was signing for us? There must have pointed to the calendar and went, you'll play that game, at least, as long as you fit criteria A, B, and C. You come up, you train hard, you work hard, you're everything we think you are, then these are the opportunities that will show up for you. Obviously, they can't forecast Trusty being suspended, but they knew the situation they were bringing him in for, and I just find it hard to imagine that he won't appear, period. I know he's come off the bench or whatever, but so maybe that's the only thing that there's a bit of room for there. Again, Tierney CeltsAreHere makes a lot of sense, but I just think with the league, I think if we're going to see a Tierney CeltsAreHere switch around, it'll be at the weekend against Rangers. Because it's the cup. I think Martin O'Neill is 100%. I don't think he will be considering prioritising, but when it comes to starting Tierney tonight for 60 to 70 and then subbing him off, knowing that maybe you're then not really giving yourself the window to play him from the start at Ibrox at the weekend. I don't think, I think he would play Tierney tonight if that was the option, if that was the scenario. So I think Sriracha, you can play him for 60, 70 at Ibrox, and it shouldn't really be a negative. I think a lot of us are Sriracha fans, and then again, Tierney can kind of finish the job from thereafter, and it is a cup, so, doesn't mean it's going to be a 90-minute game. 2-0, Dane Murray, man of the match, after shuffling one of Scales into Sinisal's arms. Dane Murray, I hope he has a big performance. And, we did a great breakdown on the match. The statistics were through the roof. I heard Alan Morrison and Juco James earlier today giving them quite a good write-up also. And a lot of other people. And I think the thing with Dane Murray, and I think I heard Paul John, especially on Axel, mention this with the kind of report he got back from people at Queen's Park. When I listen to that and I think about the analysis we did here for the lack of urgency to retreat to the line for the second goal, and concentration, maybe as the missing ingredient here into the Dane Murray mosaic. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares in that regard tonight, especially. Kind of all eyes on him in a big way. But outside of that, could McKeown start a game like this and maybe disrupt the expected order? I wouldn't rule it out, because Aberdeen, and we'll see what their team is when it comes out. Again, I was going to say, I don't think you can really say, with Aberdeen, because they've changed manager. The squad has been kind of moving, and the boy Peter Levin has been in charge. I think on an interim basis, this is at least his second stint. It could be his third if I'm mistaken. Obviously, feel free to correct me. But he's done all right against Celtic. I don't think he's ever really got points and whatever, but made them tough to beat when they've been in weak positions. And whereas Mvuka, he's missing again. So I've not put Mvuka onto the team sheet because I don't think there's any reason to have him on. Martin O'Neill was asked, and I actually have to give big props, by the way, to Josh McCafferty, especially former CeltsAreHere alumni, of course, who's now with the Celtic Way, and I believe whatever newspaper is associated with it, I think it's the Herald. But they have been hearing the pain of Celtic fans everywhere, and they've been asking proper questions at press conferences. Sadly, it's the written media, so it goes into columns and such rather than press conferences that we can listen to and talk about on channel. But they had asked stuff like that, and Mvuka, the conversation around him was he's been training well this week and he's maybe working his way up, and the word around him and Balakwisha was like suitability for the league, which I think is a really nice way of saying that they're too lightweight, they're too flimsy, they're just not, they want to play non-contact football, maybe is a way I would phrase it, perhaps. He took a 1-1 against us at Pittodrie in February. Kuhn's first goal. Yeah. And Kuhn's first goal was kind of nice. It was a little bit fluky. But I remember thinking, if he can do that just a couple of times, he's going to be an all right little winger. Obviously, went on and done way better than that. But I was definitely I can't remember. I was way more lukewarm to Nicholas Kuhn than I think a lot of people were initially. So, yeah, Ox will work against Aberdeen, but as a 10, so means Negreny's dropped. And again, I heard, it might even been Yogi today, but I heard somebody say that today as well, have Oxlade-Chamberlain in that Negren role. I like it a lot, but I like it even better from the bench. I think that they're not, I kind of touched on it the other day when we were chatting about the squad and where it's at and all that, but the game is scoring goals. That's what football is scoring goals. And if you just can't take Negren out of the team. It's just, you just cannot do it. So I would rather Ox come in as a sub in that regard. Although, depending on, because we have been quite a lopsided team in some ways, where you do see that we focus down one side of the pitch and maybe try and tuck one of the wingers in. And depending on what side of the pitch Dyson's been on, you kind of really do feel that that's ideally his kind of role and position in the team. So I don't know how you couldn't maybe mix it up in some regard. Now, you're not going to get the press off of someone like Ox, but in a game like this, where Pittodrie is just a generally smaller pitch, and in terms of the playable pitch, what's actually going to, the ground that will actually need to be covered, James Forrest can put in half an hour, 40 minutes in this type of game. Oxlade-Chamberlain, even just being semi-free as well as Negren, just being the final third, you're going to need to do a bit of the covering in the wide areas. But depending on who Aberdeen have at fullbacks, I think the boy Jensen is a bit of an athlete, and again, I can't speak for the whole squad, but otherwise, they normally play kind of centre-backy guys in defence, so I wouldn't rule out, again, something wacky. You're just trying to get the best players onto the pitch in some way, some sort of solution or formation to that effect kicking in. I wouldn't rule that out either. And Ox from the start could work, but honestly, It might even mean you put Negren up front, which again is a conversation I'm pretty sure I heard on Axom today. Sounding like a broken record. The thing that the klaxon I always kind of hit with this one is the people that I listened to from Nordisland all said that it's a false nine or up front. Like they tried them, didn't work, and again, don't know the reasons why. And if those reasons are compatible with our team and our situation, I think he would do well. But I think he is really like a better like attachment to a forward rather than the lead forward. Maybe him and Ox can kind of like have some good kind of link up play if that kind of thing was to happen. I wouldn't rule it out. But I think with all the kind of half options we've got up front, I think the Gren makes them all a lot more threatening, makes the whole team a lot more threatening. As you've seen in the Derby game at the weekend, when the Gren starts to get going, when he starts to get through the gears, especially, he's just the offensive Callum McGregor. He's linking up the wingers. He's playing the through ball in. He knows when to step back and then lob a wee cross into the box. He'll shoot, he'll get out of the way for other people. He's just, I think the offensive Callum McGregor, in terms of what he does and what his function is probably the best way of summing it up. So you just want to allow him as much final third freedom as you can give him and get as many willing people around him. He plays very well with Taneke. I don't know about Dyson if I can really comment on that. I feel that he does link up well with Yang. I think we've seen that quite often when Yang's played on the right and he's had some good exposure, and the Gren's normally been in the picture, normally been in the situation where Yang comes out good. So I think he's he's the little advanced metronome of sorts, where McGregor's the deeper one. And then with your likes of an Atate or an Ox when he's fully up and running. Because again, when we were chatting yesterday about where the squad's going and all the rest of it, Oxlade-Chamberlain, we are seeing that he must be at like 65% or something, in terms of readiness. It was great we got that little sign-on bonus with the goal against Livingston. I still remain steadfast in my requirements for him. I just need one Juninho game where he turns a game for us and does something on top of the Livingston one. I don't count that, of course. So expectations are kind of low and are there to be shattered. He has that potential to do. I don't rule that out. But I think for where we are right now, Hatate, again, I remember earlier this season was the difference at Pittodrie under Brendan Rodgers. The Gren's running stats against. I think I've never really looked at the Gren's running stats. That's maybe something to pay a bit more attention to. But I know from watching the Gren, like he literally goes everywhere. He doesn't get there as fast as we want him to, but he literally goes everywhere. And I was at Flag Day, Celtic St Mirren, the Gren's debut, and the Gren was like he was in these areas so often, and he was setting AJ off on a run quite often, and he was he looked a bit more spry back then, it must be said. It does look like he's carrying the weight of the season in his legs at this point. He did look quicker earlier in the season, so I wouldn't rule out him even looking quicker next year, because this is probably one of the most intensive seasons Benjamin de Gren's had in his career. I know he's got a lot of appearances and he's not exactly just arrived on the scene as we've signed him, but he's been quite injury free, and de Gren had an injury record prior to us signing him, and anyway, so I thought Maeda stretching the Rangers backline helped Negren exactly, Craig. And I tried my best to highlight that exact thing in the breakdown, where in terms of tonight, you're not going to get that from Maeda. Maeda coming in, moved their defence back, just opened up that pocket, this big square period here for Negren to just roam around in and be free to link up and play with. Then gave Hatate space to break into as well. I totally agree with you there, Craig. Great point. If Tam and Damu do nothing tonight against a mediocre Aberdeen side, well, they shouldn't start another game. Hard to argue with that. But who else do you start? I'm of the opinion Iheanacho's not playing down to financial reasons. Martin Neal did say it's a fitness thing. I could go along with that because of the training thing he did at the weekend. That would kind of marry in with that. It makes logical sense. I can see that being a thing, but I don't buy it. Personally, I just don't buy it. I'm still hopeful for Adamu and Tam that they can do the business. And I think I cast my mind back to the streams that we did at the time. And I think generally we wanted 10 goals from either one of them. Let me ask you in the poll before the game. The team sheet should be out any second. So let me hit a wee refresh on the Celtic Twitter account. Let me ask you a poll. 10 goals. Tam, Adamu, neither. Vote in the poll. What do you think? Will any of them get to 10? Team sheet is out. Let's see it. So we have Sinisalo, Araujo, Murray, Scales, Tierney, McGregor, Hatate, McCowan, Tineke, and Chvanchara. And you bear with me a second, peeps. You bear with me a wee second, everyone. What do you think of that? Get your thoughts, feelings, and reaction in the live chat, everyone. No Negren. On the bench, Duhan, Negren, Adamu, Ox, Sriracha, Maeda, Arthur, Forrest, Donovan. Surprising. Surprising. And let me go and fix the board up. So I've got that. So Negren's on the bench. McKevin comes in. And it's maybe not surprising after the Stuttgart performance. That was also midweek. So is there a little bit of midweek weekend balancing going on here? Yang and Tuneke on the wings, I'm a fan of, as I mentioned before. Last time it was Adamu selected in this line. This time it's Big Tam. So that'll be an interesting difference. Can I have a wee look at Aberdeen? Have they released their team? They have. So they've went with Mitov, Jensen. Let me go and see what their team looks like. Mitov, Jensen, Milne, Nielsen, Malloy, Frame. Nielsen can play CDM, but that's kind of back five-ish. Armstrong, Geiger, Cameron's at midfield three. Olasanya, Nisbet. That feels like a 5-3-2 to me. So let's look. Nisbet, Geiger, Cameron, Olasanya. No Kiskinen then. Mitov, no Morrison. Milne, Malloy, no Devlin either. Okay, Frame. Frame plays off. Yeah, guys, we could do all right here. We could do all right. Jensen, I'm trying to see who else. I think that might be it. Let's see if that fills out for 11. Jensen is like a right back, isn't he? No Devlin. No Devlin. We know Frame is a left back. No Shinny. No Shinny. Armstrong, Geiger, Cameron. Yeah, there we go. This looks like the team then. Awesome. Let's switch the screen. So this is how Aberdeen line up. Olasanya, Nisbet. You know, Olasanya's probably going to swap sides. That's probably the way I feel it anyway. I don't suspect between Geiger, Armstrong, and maybe Cameron might take a side. Maybe it's a wee bit 5-4-1-8 off the ball. I could see that happening. But I'd be worried about Olasanya from either side, with Nisbet being the focal point. Midfield three of those guys. Nielsen, you're going to see him drop into the back five or make a back five, depending on where we're at. Hatchet man in the middle, back four, and then Mitchell Frame, who I've seen play a bit for the B team. And yeah, I'm not really. I think we could do all right on that side. And Jensen's good, but again, a guy we could probably catch out Stuttgart style. If we lay the Celtic team on top of this, how we find it, we'll remove Aberdeen for a minute. Let's remove the comments. We can clean the screen up a little bit. Defense is as expected, as is the midfield. But I think, look, McCowan gives us a bit of a different dimension. I think in a game like this, like I mentioned earlier, Pittodrie, a very different venue to Ibrox, Hampden, even Celtic Park in lots of ways. And McCowan having that kind of freedom in and around the front line here is going to probably be really good for him. The thing with this wee guy midfield, as I like to call it, is Hatate and McCowan play really well together. They play really well together in the final third. And if it's a case of not just McCowan supporting the forward, but it's a case of we know that Aberdeen are going to give us most of the pitch in this game if we can just bring them back in here and just imagine that becoming a back five. Cameron, Geiger, Armstrong, and then, you know, Nisbet, Olasanya is going to be up and around here. So if that's how deep they're going to be in the pitch, then getting the likes of Hatate and McCowan, very familiar kind of setup for them, and having someone like Chvanchara up here, this could be one of those games that is a bit of a throwback to the way we were playing under Brendan Rodgers for the last year or two, and we were like, we need somebody to finish. We need a striker that can actually hit the back of the net here, and Chvanchara just might be that guy, right place at the right time, in a system with a lot of guys, Tineke maybe been the exception, of being in this situation, and we've needed the man to be on the end of things. Could see us working out very, very nicely. Tierney, I think between him and Araujo, could be a big game for them as well, because with Olasanya and Nisbet being a suspected quasi front two, they should have a lot more freedom to be influential in the match. Is probably the easiest way of saying it. And really, I think This could be brilliant. Honestly, I know we're really on the ropes in a lot of ways, but having Tuneki dancing on one side with Tierney really offering some great support, Tate bringing that Hellraiser mentality, Youngster on the right with Araujo. And again, I don't think Araujo's really got, and you feel he's been building into it. He's really going up in everyone's estimation. He's really buying into it. And a game like this, Aberdeen will be at that right type of temperature in the room where you think Araujo could come to life. And Araujo and Yang against Mitchell Frame could be bad for them. It really could be. I can see us winning a lot of free kicks tonight. Tierney's crosses are always, and again, the Tierney and Araujo crosses that have been great have been from generally the area of the pitch I've got them on screen with the now. And Big Tam against some of these guys like Milne and Malloy are formidable in the air. Let's say they're no pushovers, but this Nielsen is no big shakes. And Big Tam, I know he's not a mad target man, but getting in amongst stuff, bumping off of people, getting a wee flick on, and having these types of guys sniffing in around it, getting on to second balls, latching on for long shots and whatnot. Oh, I really do feel good about how this is going to go tonight. I am very positive. I think you're going to see Sriracha, you're going to see Negren. Who else we likely to see? Oxlade-Chamberlain off the bench is an almost certainty. Other than that, it will be interesting to see who comes in to change the game second half or see us through or see us over the line between the rest of the... Is Iheanacho even on the bench? He's not. So once again, Negren, Adamu, Ox, Sriracha, Maeda, Arthur, Forrest, Donovan. I put Arthur away. I don't think he's too important for the whole picture. But in any case, I think these three are almost certainly going to come into the game. And then between the other four, it'll be interesting to see what two get called upon. Unlikely it's Donovan, I would suggest. But you never know. Actually turning up first half would be nice. That would be good. This is Yang's 100th game. Oh, this could be monumental, by the way. This could be monumental. I am looking forward to it, guys. I think this could be a really good game for us. We've got a little bit of positivity coming out of the Rangers match. Everyone else is sitting on the couch watching us. And if we put a show on tonight, I'm sure Hearts were on the couch watching the derby thinking like, oh, that's 2 points gained for us, essentially. But if we go out and rip Aberdeen apart, which I'm not saying it's going to be easy or a given or straightforward or anything, but I just really like the look of what they have brought to the table. Not that they won't threaten us, and I'm sure they'll bring some players into some funny areas where we're going to be uncomfortable in moments. Sinisalo, if he wants those gloves, Martin O'Neill said Sinisalo wants to be the #1 goalkeeper next year. This is a big game for him. Stuttgart's great. Some of the matches he's had, I know he's not had as many clean sheets this season as he'd like, but he did have a good run in the team last year. He's been good, isn't he? But, talk about what type of situation you want to see a goalkeeper standing up in. And it's this, a massive, I know it's not a 6-pointer directly with Aberdeen as such, but every game is a cup final mentality. It's away. It's way up there in the north in the Granite City, as they call it. And, it will be an atmosphere tonight. I don't think there'll be any way of getting around that. So big expectations on Sinisalo. A clean sheet will be high value for him and will do his chances of becoming Celtic #1 goalkeeper no harm at all. And yeah, so I'd maybe do worry about... So again, you think about Aberdeen games, even the one earlier in the season at Pittodrie under Brendan Rodgers, any Aberdeen game in recent times with this kind of general squad that they've got, it is like 2v2s is their chances. They will give us a lot of the pitch, and we need to put them to the sword early and quickly. McGregor needs to keep that pressure on by, these sideways and the switches. Yeah, they work, and we know the value of them. But early going, keep the pressure on. Don't let them up. We don't stop, that kind of vibe. Go after it quickly. And like one of the comments said before, doing well in the first half could be huge. Hopefully a stress-free game tonight. That would be great. That would be great, I think, wouldn't it? I think we could all agree on that one. If we got a good football performance, which I think McCowan and Hatate really does lend itself to a good football performance for us, because what they both live on is give and goes. What they both live on is getting on the half turn, playing it to someone else, and then one of them, if not both of them, getting in on the end of things, getting in on the box, getting into the final third. And Big Tam for, I think this is true of, you could even go back to Adamida. We honestly don't do strikers enough favours, which is why I'm a big fan of the Negren role in general in the team. I think he's got the ability to try and, but he needs a bit of cohesion, and that only comes with reps. That only comes with time actually playing together and such. And I know tonight will be a bit of minute management for Negren, and he's earned a bit of care and attention in terms of managing him this year. And McKeown showed himself to be more than capable of walking into the team in this kind of scenario. So I don't have any gripes or concerns in that way. But I hope this setup does a good job of building a really good platform. Look at this here, man. That should be a great platform for Big Tam tonight. We've got a poll running. I've not referred back to it, but when we signed Big Tam and Adamu in the January window, the expectations that we generally all had for a positive outcome for them would be 10 goals, right? Give or take. And if we got into the 11s and 12s, but maybe there was lots of assists and not as many goals, we would talk about goal contributions depending on the number. But generally speaking, we all quite like the idea of 10 goals is the sort of thing a January saviour striker signing should be. In the poll so far, 67 in the heat of Lisbon percentage of you say neither. 32% of you think Big Tam can do it, and only 1% of you thought Adamu has got it in him. Now, I think I'm right in saying they're both on 1 goal apiece as of tonight before kickoff. Big Tam's got a great opportunity here, I believe, to really open his account and really write his name on the season and stake his claim for #1 striker right now, because nobody has done that. Even Daizen Maeda, for as much as he opened the game up as a striker, I know he won the penalty kind of, sort of thing, but otherwise wasn't too much. Yeah, McKeown and Hatate love a press for sure. I'd play Rio further back. Me too. I think you're probably going to see all three of them if we do get boxed back in with maybe any long free kicks that they get. Maybe they do put their foot on the ball for a period of time. Maybe, there's always a period in the first half, no matter how dominant you are, where the opposition will just have the ball for 5 minutes. They'll have a few shots. They'll maybe get a corner, a couple of throw-ins. And when that happens, McKeown is not backwards at coming forwards. And so one thing that I think every Celtic fan around the world loves about McKeown or gives him license for is he's going to leave everything out there. So if he sees space or a man to pick up and to follow, in the midfield of Aberdeen, by the way, I maybe undersell them a little bit, but Geiger, Bundesliga, Stewart, his head is fine. He scores belters all the time. We love him. And Lyle Cameron was good at Dundee. Obviously didn't make the grade at Rangers, but a very good SPFL midfielder, and at Aberdeen, you'd think he's not going to be a bad player for them either. But their defence, and Mitov, again, we do so many streams and you guys will come on afterwards and say, Mitov's the guy we should delete. Mitov, I wouldn't mind Mitov to be #2 to Sinisalo if we back Sinisalo, and then like Sinisalo was to collapse or whatever, not work out. Mitov could get you by domestically until you go and sorted it out again. But I don't rate Mitov to be a Celtic #1, because hopefully, as we see tonight, and Aberdeen fans, I'm sure, will tell you, the guy's got a rick in him, And yeah, he can make some big saves. He can keep Aberdeen in it. Don't get it wrong. We've all seen it from him before, but he's not, he's at Aberdeen, let's just leave it at that. Hatton Ben Arthur was a pointless signing. We are 1 injury away from him starting. That's true. We are 1 injury away from him starting. Martin Neal has previously referenced that position when referring to Stephen Welsh going back to Motherwell as centre-back #4. Maybe slightly paraphrasing, but certainly centre-back and #4 was part of the thingamagoober. So yeah, I'm feeling good about tonight. It's probably the best I've felt pre-game in a little while, if I can be honest. And it's mainly because I just think, again, as I'm starting to look at the Aberdeen midfield, I'm maybe thinking maybe I'm underselling them a little bit, because if we get carried away with ourselves and go Brendan Rodgers midfield and we're nowhere near each other, then I could see them ripping us open here and there. I wouldn't really, they're definitely not without teeth. They will have a game plan, no two ways about it. But again, I kind of go back to Sinisalo and Dane Murray, for that matter. Very big audition opportunity for both of them in their own ways. You've got to think between now and the end of the season, if Dane Murray doesn't stand up in the opportunities he has, he's going to be Stephen Welsh next year, really, isn't he? He's going to be on loan to Dundee or something like that. So if he's going to be 3rd choice centre-back, 4th choice centre-back, whatever, then again, same as Sinisalo, this is the sort of game where it needs to turn up in. He's got plenty of big game experiences. Plenty of people are pointing out he's often called upon to be chucked into the deep end. And this is still the deep end he's in, but this is maybe a bit more manageable for him. And he's been doing well in some other games as well. So, yeah. Could we get a goal from a corner? Could we get a Dane Murray or a Scales against his former club here? Header from a corner or something like that would be nice. We've had Tierney taking corners from the left. On the right-hand side, maybe you get McKeown likes some set pieces. Maybe we see a bit of him on them tonight. Hatate took the penalty, of course, against Rangers, and Hatate has been desperate to take penalties since he joined Celtic. He's often, remember Aaron Moy took them. I can't remember who took, it was maybe Rogic on them also, but then Matt O'Reilly and Arnie Engels, and Hatate has been desperate for penalties, and I don't know if he's really won that job after the weekend because he didn't really convert it, but yeah, it's gonna be a funny one in that way. We're just about an hour to kick off, and normally for the last little part of the stream, what I often like to do with you guys is go through score predictions and man of the match shouts. Now, I'm quite confident, or I'm feeling up for a couple of goals tonight. I could see a goal or two coming from the bench. I can see a nice first half. And I think there's a lot of guys here who have the potential to write the headlines. I think my early favourite, I've got two kind of favourites for headline maker, right? One of them is Tam, because I think if Tam was to actually get 2 goals tonight, or even if he only gets 1 goal, but he's a real handful and his goal ends up becoming decisive in the eventual result, I think Tam has got the makings of being the striker that wins the day. And because we've not had that in a while, easy story, easy headline to make. But I think everyone's favourite right back right now, like I say, if they see Mitchell Frame on the team sheet and they've done by now, and they say, boys, Stephen McManus is on the bench. Stephen McManus trained, or it was a manager, coach as well, very much involved with the B team all the way through Mitchell Frame's development. So I'm going to be very surprised if we don't hammer down their left-hand side and Araujo and Yang don't go to town. I would honestly be really surprised. Not any harm at Mitchell Frame, but Jensen's a good player. And really, if you're picking sides, it's an easy one to go after. He is a kid. He's not played much first-team football. It's like a team going after Dane Murray. You know, like it's not, I'm not any kind of slight against the kid or anything like that, but he is a kid. He's barely played at first-team level. And this will be a massive test for him. So I think headline maker, and between Araujo and Chvanchara, I think that they're my 2 favourites. Could be like a wee McCowan or a Taneke Hatate. There's definitely some room for them. But I think Araujo's got all the vibes coming into the game, and Chvanchara has got the opportunity. So I'm torn between those 2. If it's a Mitchell Frame kind of Armageddon that I think it might be, then Yang and Araujo to dance all night. They could be the guys to do it. But yeah, I'm probably going to go for Chvanchara, because I do think the likes of Nielsen, like Chvanchara's going to win a lot of free kicks tonight. I just feel it. Maybe a penalty. I wouldn't rule it out. I think this game will really suit him. So I'm going to go for Chvanchara to be my headline maker, the guy to make the difference overall. In terms of the scoreline, I think Chvanchara's on for 2. That's the way I'm kind of feeling about this, that the big man is going to get involved in a goal or 2. I think this right-hand side is going to produce some magic as well. And I really do feel that the left-hand side, Hatate, McCowan, I think there's 4 goals in the starting 11. And I think there's a goal from the bench. Dare I say it out loud? I'm going to. Celtic 5-0. I'm going for it, guys. I'm going for it. Celtic 5, Aberdonians 0. I'm doing it. I don't care. Laugh at me if you want. Clip it up. Get the receipts on the internet. This is the place to do it. The stream will be ending in a minute or 2. When that happens, the comment section opens up, and that is the precise place to leave all of your score predictions and man of the match. If you want to put actual man of the match who's going to have the wee trophy at the end, fine. But I like to go for, who's actually going to be the guy when it's all said and done, that is we know was the guy that made the difference. Sometimes the man of the match is the guy with the most goals or something like that. I do have some fantasy football up and running tonight. I have Sinisalo playing, which is lovely. Dane Murray. With the Celtic teams, though, I was nervous around some of them. Yeah, I've got Ben Negren's in a lot of teams. So I'll be waiting for him to come off the bench in 2 of them. But I've got a team of full starters over here, which is nice. So I'm all about, if Taneke, Chvanchara, anyone in this kind of lineup here does well tonight, I'm going to be a happy camper. And I've got an RB team down here, Dyson on the bench. An RB team down here with McCowan starting, which is nice, but I've got Oxlade-Chamberlain who's on the bench. So yeah, I'm kind of up for all of it, really, to be honest with you. But Taneke and Big Tam, if they can link up a bit, that would be pretty swell for me. And yeah, let's see. I'm planning on being back here for post-match reaction, so we'll see how the game goes, and we'll see just if I can make it on tonight. We'll definitely have a post-match breakdown like we normally do, uploaded onto the channel tomorrow, which is Thursday. Friday we'll be diving into the weekly catch-up chat, and then we'll be rolling into derby preview stuff. If you haven't done so already, please do hit the subscribe button for more content like this. It just means you'll get notified if we do come on live for a match reaction, as well as keep you up to date with all the other content as we roll. If you have enjoyed the stream, the match preview, if you want to give us some luck for tonight as well, hit the like button. It goes a long way to supporting the channel by jumping into the live chat, leaving a comment, hitting the like button. It just lets YouTube know that we've had a good stream here, we've had a good time, and maybe we'll find some more jungle gyms to come and hang out with us, which would be pretty sweet. We're pushing for 18,888 subscribers. We cannot do that without your support, everyone. If you're going to the game tonight, travel safe and travel home safely if I don't see you after the match, of course. And if you're watching it on the couch or with somebody, I hope you all have a great time. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share, and retweet. Hail, hail, 5-0, and won the hoops.